This feels like progress. Very neat, controlled, certain. But this is what actually builds your drawing skill. Adults returning to art after a long gap are often taught to chase quick wins through tracing, copying, blindly reproducing images. In the moment, these tricks give you neat, pretty results, even a sense of confidence. But that same confidence disappears the moment you try to draw something from scratch. That is the price we pay when we try to learn art chasing just beauty alone. It costs you time, effort, and yet leaves you without any real skill. That is just one of the dead ends you can walk into without even realizing. There are 5 such deadly dead ends that can keep you stuck even when you practice art sincerely. Let us uncover them now. Do you keep learning new art techniques, collecting all sorts of art tutorials, and yet your drawing still feels disconnected and inconsistent? Do you practice sincerely, but somehow it feels like you are going in circles without moving forward? Do you make art and still wonder what is missing? Well, that is not a talent problem. It is a training problem. If you are returning to drawing as an adult and feel stuck, this is extremely common. Most adults were never shown how drawing actually develops. You are given fragments instead of a clear path, tricks instead of structure, short-term results instead of dependable skill. Hi, I am Parul, founder of Restart Art. I help you to build real art skills. Here are 5 dead ends that you can unknowingly walk into, which can really keep you stuck for years. As you listen, notice which one feels uncomfortably familiar. Do you think that drawing and copying are the same things? If copying was same as drawing, then your confidence would not vanish the moment you're asked to draw something from scratch. Copying simply asks you to repeat someone else's artistic steps. Where they place the shadow, what line pressure did they use, how did they approach their composition, and so on. Drawing, on the other hand, is about making all those decisions on your own. Learning how to draw from scratch means to first learn how to see like an artist. When you draw, you're basically translating the 3-dimensional world onto a 2-dimensional surface using your own perception. Yes, copying can give you quick confidence boost. Your drawing looks neat, it looks finished. It also gives you a sense of progress. But in reality, it never builds real confidence. It is real drawing practice that trains your eye to construct anything from scratch. Then you don't need references, tracing, copying. The world becomes your stage then. That kind of skill stays with you for life. That skill also lays a solid foundation for further development like painting or expression in any medium. So, if your drawing only works when there is something to trace, you may be practicing copying, not drawing. The next dead end you can walk into is to think, once I buy better art materials, my art will improve. Have you ever noticed how careful you become with expensive art materials? Yeah, premium art materials definitely feel good, but premium art tools do not replace drawing skills. If you're waiting for the right sketchbook or the right art materials to start seriously practicing, this might be why progress feels slow. Simply because you behave very precious about your art materials and you feel hesitant to experiment freely. And drawing does not grow under pressure. It grows through volume of effort, freedom, and a sense of play. In my early BFA days, we were encouraged to produce number of sketches and not get hooked on perfection of each and every page. We used all sorts of surfaces, like inexpensive paper, loose sheets, even the back of old printouts, old newspaper, whatnot. The goal was to train the hand without mental weight pulling it back, to make marks freely, to experiment without fear of ruining something expensive. When you practice this strongly, you begin to understand your personal relationship with art. How your hand moves, how your eye measures proportion, how your lines respond to your internal dialogue, what kind of themes really attract you. Amidst this kind of solid art practice, now when you give yourself those premium art materials, you create nothing short of magic. So, if you're giving yourself those premium tools but are not working on the volume, the sheer intensity of this solid art practice, it can be the reason which is keeping you back from growing further. If you're recognizing yourself in these patterns, pause this video for a moment and download my free guide called The Invisible Threads That Keep Returning Artists Stuck. Along with few art exercises, it goes into the deeper beliefs that keep you hesitant from realizing your own creative potential. The link to the free guide is in the description box below. Now, let's continue with the video. The third dead end is to think the more techniques I learn, the better I become. Do you find yourself collecting art tutorials on cross-hatching, perspective drawing, realistic shading, grid methods, layering techniques, etc., 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 and yet still feel structurally unsure? Techniques are like ingredients. For instance, how if two people go about making same dish with same ingredients and yet produce dishes that taste very different? The difference is in the process. Process and structure beats hacks, tricks, quick tips every single time. Many adult beginners are naturally drawn towards visible results, like hyper-realistic finishes, detailed hair, textured fur, because those improvements are fun, easy to see, and satisfying to achieve. But what often gets overlooked is the underlying structure that makes those results stable. If you gather techniques without forging them through the right process, you will always feel as if something is missing in your art and drawings. So, instead of chasing every new trend or method, focus on fewer skills and practice them deeply. Build structural understanding before decorative techniques. As Bruce Lee once said, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. Depth builds confidence. Accumulation builds clutter and confusion. The next art mistake that keeps art learners stuck is more psychological and subtle. We pick up art where we left it. If I ask you about your childhood's best friend, or your favorite candy, or your favorite game, your mind will swiftly take you to that memory. Upon recall, your mind revisits those mental references even after such a long gap. In the same way, when you pick up art again, your last reference is that old childhood or teenage time when you used to draw your favorite cartoon character or something from your favorite movie poster or imaginary artworks you created in your free time. Your hand often recreates those versions of art which you once knew. They often have simplified shapes, perhaps cartoon-style features. There is nothing wrong with cartoons. The problem is stopping there. If you want to move beyond that nostalgic comfort and build real drawing skills, you have to upgrade your foundations. As an adult, you can now understand the grammar of visual art and start creating your own unique artworks. So don't worry if your current artworks look like your teenage sketchbook. It simply means your art training needs to evolve. The next dead end is quite a tricky one. It can quietly keep people stuck for years. We tend to think drawing is purely talent. If I practice enough, I'll just get better. Yes, practice is non-negotiable. And yes, drawing is a talent. But that talent stays as a potential until we work on it as a skill. Like any other skill, it develops through structured practice, feedback, and correction. Talent definitely helps, but improvement requires deliberate evaluation. When we forget this, we drift in a state of a comfortable warmth. We create few good artworks, but then most of it looks similar. We kind of go in circles. Improvement, on the other hand, requires feedback loops. Without evaluation, repetition does not equals growth. Most people practice, but very few practice deliberately. You can get feedback from two directions. Number one, self-assessment. Here you set a goal. You create the artwork, detach yourself from the artwork so that you can measure how well you achieve that goal. The second method involves getting guidance from someone trained in art. They can see what you can't see in your artworks yet. This method is very effective. It saves you a lot of time and effort and detours because you are learning from someone who has proven time-tested methods for art. If your drawing is going in circles and you don't know how to improve it, you might be making this mistake of looking at drawing and art as purely talent. Intentional drawing accelerates growth. Random drawing tutorials can make you feel comfortable, but also they keep you stuck. If you recognize yourself in any of these patterns, it is not a verdict on your talent. It simply means you have been conditioned to prioritize quick wins over foundational drawing practice that actually grows your art practice. The story does not end here. If you feel hesitant in front of a blank canvas, that hesitation is not random. It is shaped by subtle beliefs about what art and artists should be. The 5 dead ends which we just discussed are just on the surface. Underneath them are invisible threads that keep returning artists stuck for years. If this felt uncomfortably accurate, download this free art guide. It is called The Invisible Threads That Keep Returning Artists Stuck. The link is in the description box below. Remember, you are not behind. You are not untalented. You are simply rebuilding a skill with more awareness than ever before. That changes everything. Until we meet next, lovingly step into the artist you know you are. Restart art. It's good for you.